Hello, everyone. I think I'm officially live. So, welcome to my channel, Frank Fiction. This is the very first ever live stream reading sprint, productivity sprint that I'm doing. I'm really excited to be starting these on my channel. I have been watching Kat from Kat's Novel Adventures do these every Wednesday, and I love hanging out with her and her followers. It always looked like so much fun. I was really looking forward to doing these myself. If you're new here, my name is Alex. And if you're watching live, welcome. If you are watching the recording of this, welcome to you as well. Over the course of the sprint, I'm going to have like fun little questions that are going across the screen, much like the banner that you're seeing now where it says, what are you reading or working on tonight? My questions are going to be Halloween themed. I have a few of them lined up that I think people will really enjoy answering. So regardless of whether you're watching live or it is recorded, I want to hear your answers. So if you're live, you can put them in the chat. And if it's a recording, you can put them down in the comments below. Because this is my first ever sprint, I may end up turning into a mildly awkward potato. I ask that you please don't hold it against me. This is going to be my first time kind of working out any bugs if there's anything going on with StreamYard. So thank you very much for not holding that against me and just hanging in there for the time being. I'm really hoping to turn this into a regular thing. I put a post up on my communities page asking people what day of the week would work best for them. And the two most popular answers were Monday and Friday. So, of course, I'm doing one today. This one was a little less popular than Friday, so we might not have as many people join, but I might try to do one on Friday as well. I'm covering for a coworker on Friday, which coworker I'm covering, there's a 3-hour time difference. I'm not sure how busy I'm going to be that day, but I might try to do one then as well. This is just going to be a time for chilling, sitting down, grab a snack, grab a drink, get under a cozy blanket, get your project of choice, and just take the time to feel productive for a little while. My beverages of choice tonight, I have water because I'm really bad at staying hydrated, and because it is the season, I also have some hot apple cider, emphasis on hot. So tonight, my project is going to be that I am continuing to read Stephen King's 11/22/63. It is an absolute beast of a book at 842 pages. You can see all of my tabbies here because I have been annotating as I go along. And I currently, goodness, I'm on page 724. So I have about 120 pages left in this book. I have no idea if I'm going to be able to get through it tonight, but I am hoping, if possible, that I will. This is not the longest Stephen King book that I have ever read. That title goes to the uncut version of The Stand, which I believe is over 1,400 pages and is the longest Stephen King book I think that he ever wrote. And then I've also read It and Under the Dome, and both of those break 1,000 pages. So really, it's not that this book is like particularly big compared to other books of his that I've read, but I ended up getting this book selected by TBR Tarot. I did a video on that, and I think it was the first book that I picked, and it said, choose the largest book that I had in my TBR. And the thing I was worried about with this is when I picked it up, I said, I'm not worried about finishing this book because I know I can read this month. I'm worried about the books that are going to come after. And I have 2 more books that I am reading after this, and it's already October 23rd. So please wish me luck, send good vibes, give me the courage to be able to, at least if I don't finish it tonight, get most of the way there. I am a huge Stephen King fan. I think, to my knowledge, that this is the only science fiction book that he has ever written, like one that doesn't really include any elements of horror. I could be wrong about that, so if I am, feel free to tell me in the comments. But so far, I am really enjoying it. It's not my favorite book of his that I've ever read, but it's definitely very solid. I do want to tell you all that you will probably end up hearing my dog Barker at some point in the video. Currently have him in his back area in my house right now because Keaton's on his way home, and whenever somebody comes in the house, Barker, true to his name, absolutely loses his mind. So I'll end up bringing him in here in a little while. I am planning on starting off the sprint with just a nice 30-minute intro, 30-minute timer to give us kind of like a warm up here. So we could end up doing some longer ones later if you all end up feeling like it, or if you want to stick to the 30 minutes, you just let me know. Because I am a huge sci fi fan, the timer that I found, of course, I wanted it to incorporate something dealing with aliens, and I'll show you all really quick. I ended up finding a super cute one that has aliens that are racing each other. And so as the timer goes, they are actually going to be like sprinting along. And the thing I really like about this is that if at any point while you're working on your project, you get tired of, reading your book or working on it, you can actually just watch these. I actually kind of found it a bit soothing. So I am going to get us started here soon. But I do want to ask for any of you who are watching, what is it that you're reading or that you're working on tonight? I would love to hear about it. And you can feel free to answer during the first sprint. Oh, I got a comment. 1 second. Hey, Medium John Silver, thanks so much for joining. He said, I'm working on finishing Nylon Angel by Marianne DePiers. Apologies, I probably mispronounced that name. It's an Australian sci fi novel left over from Garb August. Very nice on the last 52 pages now. Really cool. Are you enjoying it? Since you're that far into the book, I imagine you probably have the feeling of like what star rating you want to give it. So, what do you think that it's going to be? I can tell you right now with 11/22/63, I'm feeling like this is a solid 4 stars. I'm pretty happy with it. Like I said, it's not my favorite thing of his that I've ever read, but it's a solid book. See, we're getting a couple more people in here now. So I will go ahead and I will start the timer. But like I said, feel free to answer the questions at any time. The noise that you all should hear, I'll put it that way, if I am doing this correctly, that you should hear is it's going to be a sonar sound. So it'll be like a ding, ding, kind of gentle, shouldn't scare anybody, but that's what it'll sound like when the timer goes off. And John, sorry, get my mouse back over here. I'm working with 3 screens on this one today. I'm used to working with only two, but I see you said it took a weird turn with phantom parasites in the last chapters. Oh, that's cool. See, I like stuff like that. I would say parasites definitely fit in with the trope of viruses and fungi and stuff like that. So that can be really cool. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. See you all in a bit. Hey everyone. Sorry, it didn't actually go off for me. I'll have to figure that one out going forward why the sound didn't work. Hopefully, I didn't scare any of you with my voice. I'm going to go ahead before I start kicking off some comments and putting up the next question for you all. This is one I came up with that I thought was pretty fun. So you have to survive for 24 hours for one of these two things. You have to choose one. You have the option of a deadly poltergeist or the xenomorph from the Alien movies. Which would you choose and why? Going through the comments here, the last one I hadn't seen was from Nicole. She said finishing Tommy. Oh, Junji Ito. So it's a body horror. Is that one of his are they technically considered manga, or is he more of like a graphic comic artist? But I know of him because his art style is like very famous. And then 13 Reasons Why is not a book that I have read, but hopefully you are enjoying it by Jay Asher. Very cool. And then Dustin coming in. Hi, Dustin from With the Stovers. His channel just recently crossed the 1,000 subscriber threshold. So, congratulations again, Dustin. He is a friend of mine. Nice to see me. I know his next comment said live, and you're actually still working. I'm sorry. I'm hoping that you're going to be able to get off work soon, but thank you for tuning in anyway, just to come and hang out for a little while. Hopefully, it's pretty peaceful. And Kat, it's so good to see you. I think you missed when I was mentioning you in the beginning of the live stream, but I was talking about how you were my inspiration for starting to do these. And I'm really excited to be here and actually doing this on my channel. So she says, Alex would have been here sooner, but I've had the craziest day, which I will share on my Wednesday sprints. I can't stay very long. Well, any amount of time that you can stay, greatly appreciate it. And I'm sorry that your day was really crazy. That's awful on a Monday. So I'm really hoping that it gets better. And she said, I'm reading The Way We Love Now by Anthony Trollope, or is it Trollope? I'm always really awful with pronunciations unless I can look them up in advance. But that's not a book that I've heard of before. So I'm hoping that you're enjoying it. And Dustin says, I got the notification Alex was going live and was so excited. Thank you so much. And Robert says, I'm reading The Sword of Kaigan by M.L. Wang, and Delirium's Muse by Michael Wertenberg. Is that pronounced the German way with the W is a V sound, or is it with a W? And I want to start The Bee Sting by Paul Murray. Man, I haven't heard of any of those. I'm hoping that you're enjoying all of them. Tell me down in the chat what your rating is so far of the ones that you're reading and if you're enjoying them. And then Nicole, came back. So the Junji Ito is considered a manga. Tonight is very much body horror. Ito's art is what drew me to his works. That's really cool. Yeah, so I ended up learning of Junji Ito from my friend Dylan, and Keaton knew of him as well. We were walking around a Barnes & Noble, and he opened up the manga and was showing me the art style. And immediately, even though I read horror, I was like, oh my God, that's a lot. That's a lot even for me. But I know they're very popular and I would like to pick those up eventually. Of course, I can't. You guys are going to hear me say it a million times over the next year, but I can't buy any books right now. So I kind of want to see if maybe they would have something like that at the library, but I almost wonder if it would be restricted because kids would be able to pick them up. So I'm going to have to check that out, but super cool that you're reading those. And then is it pronounced Anusha? And it says trying to get through Just Mercy. Okay. I have not read that one by Brian Stevenson. Okay. I'm hoping that you are enjoying it. You saying trying to get through does not indicate a lot of joy to me. But then again, I think earlier I said trying to get through 11/22/63 just because of how huge this is. So if that's the case, totally understand your feelings on that. And Nicole corrected Tommy. Okay, thank you. And then Medium John Silver says, I last finished, is it Barchester Towers by Anthony Trollope? Watched the commentary by Steve Donahue. It was fun. Awesome. So what genre does Anthony Trollope right in. Like, I can't tell by the title of Barchester Towers, and then earlier, The Way We Love Now. I can't identify what that is. Is it maybe thrillers? Taking a wild stab in the dark here. Hi, Miss Starbucks. So good to see you. Thanks for joining in here. What are you doing tonight? Are you working on a project or are you reading something? I'd love to hear it. Kat says, I hope you're enjoying 11/22/63. I am 100%. I'm feeling the pressure now that we're getting towards the end of the month of trying to make sure that I get through this book so I can read the other two that are on my TBR, which I still have the 100 Years of Lenny and Margot. And then after that, I'm reading Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury, and I'm definitely going to be getting through those. And the funny thing is like this is taking me a day and an age, but those other books I could probably read pretty quickly. But yes, I am liking this. I promise. I'm going to end up doing a full review of this on my channel. I try to keep things spoiler free as much as possible because I know for me, if I am interested in a book, I don't want anything from it to be spoiled. But I'm considering for this next review for this, because it's so big, of going through and actually doing like a spoiler free section at the beginning of the video and then doing spoilers at the end, just so I can kind of comment on some stuff that happens at like towards the end of the book. And so I can also talk about what all my tabbies are, because some of my tabs I actually can't tell you what they are because they're inherently spoilers too. So I don't know, maybe if you all want to give me some feedback on that. Do you mind when videos have like a spoiler section in them? Yes, no, you don't care. Either way, I would really like to hear that. Oh, Victorian literature. Okay, so that is Anthony Trollope, Victorian literature. Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Yep, and Medium John Silver comes in and validates or confirms that and says about Church of England politics, mid-19th century in the small villages. That actually sounds really interesting to me. I like that I read widely and that I can enjoy many different genres, because that means that when people say, things that normally I wouldn't read, it's like, that actually sounds really cool. So I'm going to have to check that out. Robert said, I mentioned Shady Hollow by Junjo Black for a reading slump. Hopefully the library has that. I do remember your comment about that. And I do need to go check that, because anything that is like comforting or funny or just kind of like a nice, gentle read can be a beautiful thing in between like horror books or thriller books, or sometimes just like really long books. I do enjoy that. Also, I'm hoping you're not going to hear too much of my dog Barker, because I can hear the garage door coming open right now. So Keaton's about to walk in the door. So apologies for that if you can hear him in the back of the house. But Kat asks, Medium John Silver, are you participating in Victober? So that's a great question. I have not actually heard of that. I need to start doing more of a deep dive into all of the different things that people do on BookTube. I'm of course familiar with some of them, but there's just so much on so many different channels. I can't possibly keep up. Miss Starbucks says, well, at the moment it's almost midnight because I'm from the Netherlands. I don't know if I ever asked you where you were at. So that's so cool. I've always wanted to visit the Netherlands. It's a beautiful place, and the people I've heard are very happy. Like, you all are generally like a very happy country. And I'm reading a Dutch book with a spiritual novel. Title is De Wonderen van de Casa from Macy Annabelle Pohl. Let me know how horrible that pronunciation was and laugh at me till the cows come home, because I'm sure it was very bad. Medium John Silver says, include a spoiler section, but use a different background to differentiate. Okay, that's a really good suggestion. So maybe like I could film in two different places. So like a film like in front of like one set of my bookshelves and film in front of another set to make sure that people know the difference. That helps a lot. Thank you so much. Kat says, this is my first Trollope and 1st of October. It's a chunker, but it's very good. Kat, I need to get caught up on your videos, my friend. I'm so sorry. I am not caught up. I know you were having a struggle with that a while ago with catching up on your friends on booktube, and I'm feeling that right now. But I promise I have some of your videos I'm really looking forward to watching. I got to get caught up. Nicole said, I love spoilers. The more likely I am to read it. Okay, see, Keaton is very similar because he has this phrase like every time I talk about spoilers, he's like, for me, it's not about the story, it's about like it's not about the spoilers or the ending, it's about the journey getting there. So for him, everything could be spoiled. You could literally tell him every detail of a book and he would still be interested in reading it. I am not like that. I am the exact opposite. If I want to go into something that I'm really interested in, I want to like plug my ears and go la 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 and not know anything about it at all. I just watched Howl's Moving Castle for the first time, and of course I did just read the book like a month ago, or maybe it was 2 months at this point. COVID, I can't keep track of time anymore, but I did just read that, and I stayed away from that forever. I didn't know anything about it. So that's good to know because some people they don't mind spoilers. I appreciate that you don't. Me, I try to stay away from them, but I'll. It looks like I'm going to include a spoiler section in that video. Absolutely. Medium John Silver says I may pick up some Arthur Conan Doyle for Victober. Yeah, I do enjoy some of those stories. I haven't read very much Sherlock Holmes. I tend to read more like Agatha Christie for like kind of those older mysteries. But when I took a trip to London, this was back when I was in college, we went and visited, like the Baker Street Museum and stuff. And I ended up picking up like little books there that had some of like the short stories. So I would sit and read them while we were at like plays or the opera or the orchestra. When we went to the Globe Theater, they were really enjoyable. And I like those. Hello, Keaton. I wasn't expecting him to join on as soon as he got home, but thank you for getting on, honey. Kat says spoilers are fine as long as you let people know, and I definitely will. I'm not gonna just be like, and then just blurt it out, right? There would be two different sections of the video for sure. And Kat says, I'm still behind on watching my friends' videos. Totally understandable. Don't feel bad about it at all. We all put out so much content and we try to be consistent. And at some point, life just takes over and it's overwhelming. You can't possibly watch all of it, at least not right away. Like you might be able to eventually, but not right away. I know I can't. Miss Starbucks said it was okay, not great, not horrible. Your pronunciation, no, it was horrible. That's okay, my friend. You can tell me if I even wrote that correct. You're awesome. Miss Starbuck has been watching my channel since like the earlier times, like when I was still a bit smaller, and has always given me really awesome feedback. So thank you so much. Yes, that's my Keaton. My Keaton is on here tonight to support me for my first live. And he said that he stole Barker to go take him for a walk so he could calm down a little bit. So I appreciate that. And nobody answered my poltergeist or xenomorph question. So be sure to do that when we're on our next round of sprints, which I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get those booted up. I do want to ask really quickly, do you all have a preference on time? Would you like it to be another 30-minute sprint? Would you like it maybe to be a bit longer, like a 45-minute sprint? You want them shorter? Do you want them like 15, 20 minutes? First answer is the winner. Miss Starbuck wrote in here really quick. I need to forget the hype about the book. I read Piranesi and I just had my expectations too high because of the hype. That way I gave it 4 stars. While without the hype around it, I think it would have been a 5. That's very fair. I find that with especially popular books, the more you hear people talk about them, you expect them to be like this grand and amazing thing, and sometimes they don't end up being what you expect. And Piranesi is a strange book. That's one of the reasons it ended up on my top 10 like weirdest books I've ever read. And I went into that one not knowing anything about it, and I really liked it. But yeah, I get picky. The more popular a book is, I think the more critical of it I am, for sure. Anusha says, I'm okay with 25 to 30 minute sprint. Okay. And Kat, thank you for for answering the question. Maybe a deadly poltergeist, not sure why. And Nicole said 30 minutes is fine for me. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get the 30 minutes up on the timer really quick. Give me 1 second. I will tell you, if I had to choose between the deadly poltergeist or the xenomorph, and if you guys don't know the like xenomorph from the Alien movies, those are great movies. Highly recommend watching them. A mixture of like sci-fi and horror. To me, they're like my special kind of sci-fi horror. But I would actually pick the xenomorph to hide from because I watched those movies so much that I know how they work. And I honestly think that I could probably just hide myself in a closet somewhere and just stay there for 24 hours and I would live because the key is to stay away from the air vents. If you don't get in the air ducts, you're not anywhere in the open space. They can't kill you. Hide in a closet. Um, Medium John Silver. Whoop, lost my mouse again. Sorry, guys. Medium John Silver said, I love Piranesi, read it slowly and walked around the halls and vestibules in my mind. And yeah, Nicole agreed with me. Xenomorph. I have more experience with them for my broad board game hobby. Oh, you have the Alien games. Those I've heard really good things about. I feel more prepared for Xenomorph, 100%. Because also with a poltergeist, you can't see it hypothetically, right? Like a poltergeist could be invisible, and you never know if it's in the room with you. So I'm gonna pick the thing I can see and that I know a little bit about. Kat, thank you. Congratulations on your first live. I have to hop off because I have to drive. Bye, my friend. Thank you so much for joining. And I'm going to go ahead and get the timer set, everybody. If I can find my mouse again. There it is. Doo-doo-doo. And we are off. See you in a bit. All right, everybody, welcome back. It looked like the little purple guy won. Good for him. Shut this off really quick. All right, Dustin said a quick note. I'm sure he's gone by now. I'll have to run, Alex. So happy for your first live sprint. Thanks, Dustin, if you end up watching this anymore afterwards. I did go ahead and put up a new question for you all, which is, do you or do you not like watching horror films, and why? And if you like watching, what is your most favorite? I also want to check in with you all on your progress, how you doing on your reading or your projects tonight. I am officially in part 6, which is the last part of this book. I'm under 100 pages until the end, so that makes me feel good about the possibility of me actually finishing this tonight, which I'm really excited about. Also, while you're at it, while you're leaving comments, go ahead and let me know how long you would like the next sprint to be. If we can keep them shorter this evening, if you want to make them like 30 minutes consistently, or if you want the next one to be a little bit longer, you just let me know. Miss Starbucks said, this was fun. Was now reading out All Against All from Nathan Allen, an ebook I already read for a year. Haha, ebooks aren't for me. That's very fair. I like a mix of physical books and digital books. So, in case you guys are wondering my opinion about that, I own more physical books than I have digital books, but I do have a Kindle, an e-reader. It's dead right now. You can tell I need to charge it because I've mainly been reading physical books lately. But I think ebooks are very convenient. It's nice to be able to pack so many of them on to one device. And I do find, oddly enough, that I actually read faster when I read on an e-reader than I do when reading a physical book. I don't know if it's just because it's easier to turn the pages, or somehow psychologically it just like is reading faster. I've heard a lot of people say that. It's one of the reasons why there was this big push online for the Kindle from certain people who are on like Instagram and on YouTube. They were telling people like, oh, I read so many books when I use an e-reader. I do read faster on it, but it's not for everybody. And there is something about having a physical book with you. I enjoy looking at them. I like being able to see the cover art all the time. I like that it's in color. I enjoy like the physicality, especially now, of being able to annotate, because I just got into this. I got some really cool new post-its that I didn't know were a thing, because if I had known they were a thing, I probably would have used them when I was in college. But they're actually transparent. And so you rip them off. They come in like a little pad like this, and you rip them off and you put them over, and you can see through them, and you can highlight without actually damaging your book. Because that was the main reason I never used to write in my books. I didn't want to damage them. So now I have these that easily pull out without ripping up the paper, and these plastic tabs, which have like a very light adhesive. So if I ever want to take these out, it'd be like a perfectly undamaged copy of a book. I got Alex from Alex Black Reed saying hi. Hello, Alex, a fellow Alex. How are you this evening? What are you reading? What's your project that you're working on tonight? Medium John Silver says, Nylon Angel, more and more plot twists in the final chapters. Too many. Ooh, okay. Yeah, that is definitely not good, because does that mean that they are contradicting one another? Like the plot twists aren't making sense because it's like they're layered upon one another, or they're like kind of like going head to head? Do let me know, because I think that's really interesting. I think a lot of authors try to put in plot twists, of course, because it makes their books more interesting, but some are a lot more deft at it than others. One person who can be really good at it is Stephen King. I just read one, and it was really sad, and I didn't like it. Ron Payne. Hi, Ron. Welcome. I'm so glad that you could join tonight. He says, hello, just finished dinner and started reading The Hacienda by Isabel Canas. Now, is the Hacienda, what genre is that? Is that a thriller, historical fiction? Is it a science fiction? Do let me know. You can even give like a little brief synopsis if you like about like what the story is about. With books that I don't know what they are, what the title is, or haven't heard of the author before, I like to know what genre the book is. So you'll probably hear me ask that a lot. Um, yeah, so this was from my last question about which would you prefer if you had to try to survive for 24 hours? Would you prefer a deadly poltergeist or a xenomorph? And Robert said a xenomorph. For me, horror movies. You enjoy Eyes of My Mother, disturbing, very disturbing. And if you like Ito, you might also like Shintaro Kago. Hopefully, I pronounced that correctly. Have not heard of Kago before, so thank you for that recommendation. I do need to pick up Ito first because I feel like that is the one that everybody talks about, and his works are so famous. So if I can make it through, if I can stomach it, I really do enjoy body horror, but that added physical or the added visual element to it, I think makes it that much more disturbing. Eyes of My Mother. I'm not familiar with that movie. As shameful as it is, there are many movies and many books that I haven't read. I feel like I'm always so far behind on, either classics or what just recently came out. I feel like I live under a rock sometimes. I can tell you that one of my favorite, you could call it a horror movie, it definitely fits with this season, is John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness. I show pretty much all of my friends that movie if I can, because it's just, again, it's my level of weird, it's my brand of weird. If you've ever watched In the Mouth of Madness, it has Sam Neill in it, who is the main leading guy from Jurassic Park. I really like his character, and the thing I also really enjoy about that movie is it's about books. It's about an author who writes horror novels that are kind of like Lovecraftian, and he is incredibly famous. He's in the movie. They say he sells more copies than Stephen King, and they make like movies out of his works and everything. But he believes that his writing is actually coming true. Like he has the ability to bring the things that he writes to life. And I just love it. I watch it every single year. So if you haven't ever seen it, I would recommend it. And also listen to the intro song because John Carpenter, for his movies like Halloween and the like, he actually wrote all the songs and played them with his band. And they are all bops, they're all hits. Highly recommend it. Medium John Silver says, just hard to keep track of them all. And also says, if you would like nonfiction about the JFK assassination, the best is Case Closed 1993 by Gerald Posner, carefully researched. And yes, Oswald did it. I can honestly tell you I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Also, Bubby's chewing on a bone behind me. So don't mind Mark Barker. But yeah, funny enough, when I was in college as a freshman, we had to do a presentation. I was taking a class that was actually all about the 1960s. And of course, JFK's assassination was in 63. And so I decided that my presentation was going to be on like all of the top conspiracy theorists or top conspiracy theories, excuse me, that people said like had some sort of, base in truth. And I went through each of them and I went through and was like, this, like all the conspiracy theories are bogus, and here's why. And so yeah, I also believe that Oswald did it. And thank you for that recommendation, because I think that that would be interesting, and I am trying to read more nonfiction right now. Alex Black Reed says, I need to start Killers of the Flower Moon. Like the name, keep distracting myself with other things. Totally understand that. I also can get easily distracted. I don't have any sort of like attention issues. It's just, especially when you have like a dog, and I'm sure if any of you have kids, you know that like whenever they do something, you immediately go, what is that? What are you doing right now? And that is that way with Bubby. So I kept getting up. You probably saw me if you were looking at my camera at all during the last sprint, and I kept like opening and closing the doors because he couldn't figure out whether he wanted to come or go. So now he's in here with me. Miss Starbucks says, I don't like horror movies, just too bloody, etc., and too low in energy for me. I only like one, which is 13 Ghosts by Tony Shalhoub. He's such an amazing actor. Now, 13 Ghosts, I am familiar with that, but believe it or not, I have not seen that since I was a kid. And it scared the crap out of me. And I actually really want to watch that again as an adult because I feel like I would appreciate it a lot more. I didn't like anything scary when I was a kid. And I'm with you. I'm not big on gore. I prefer my horror, if you will, like in movie form, like if it's existential or if it has a lot of suspense. I think that that does a lot more for me than just like blood and guts everywhere. Totally, totally get that. Alex Black Reed says, but also need to finish Exhalation by Ted Chiang. And I have heard of that. That's a very famous book, though I haven't read it. I'm really curious since you are reading it right now. Are you enjoying it? Did you hear any hype about it before you picked it up, or did you pick it up on your own? Ron came back and said the Hacienda is a gothic horror set in Mexico in 1820s. Okay, that makes perfect sense. Gothic horror. Yeah. Um, Nicole said 13 Ghosts is a classic. It is. And I was quite young when I remember that being played on TV. And all I remember was just going and hiding under a blanket because of, I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, there's a scene with a bathtub. Yes, like a woman in a bathtub and she's all bloody and like somebody can't see her and she's like washing her face in the tub water. Let me know if I'm thinking of a different movie. I'm pretty sure that's right though. Hopefully. Ms. Starbucks says, don't worry, I am way behind as well with book classics and sometimes movies as well. There's just so much. We are inundated every day with more books, more media. You know, the fact that I would get overwhelmed because I get every every email from Barnes and Noble, like when they would come out with new books every week, and they're like, here are all of our things. And I'm like, great, I can barely get through what I already own. And you're telling me all these other things I now want to buy. But you know, that's marketing for you. Ron Payne says, I'm a total scaredy cat with horror movies, but horror books don't bother me at all. Yes, I totally get that. But you know, part of it for me is I think I have the ability to put it down. Like I can be reading it and I can go, oh, I need a second and close it and just give myself that time. When you're watching a movie, you can't really do that because I feel like it takes away from the impact. I'm a huge Guillermo del Toro fan. Okay. And I guess the most recent horror movie that I had never seen before, if you will, that I watched was Nightmare Alley. And that movie, perfect example, because usually Guillermo del Toro, he has like monsters and, you know, and all this makeup and prosthetics. Hellboy is my favorite thing on the planet, aside from Mass Effect. So, I loved his Hellboy movies. He made Pan's Labyrinth. You know, it's like all this beautiful imagery. And when he remade Nightmare Alley, all of it was about just real people being awful, doing terrible things, like fooling other people, tricking other people, and like the horrible consequences that came from it. And I actually found that movie more terrifying than most other movies that I've watched. So, but the reason I brought that up is because when I was watching it, I kept pausing it, and because it would bother me. I was so disturbed watching Nightmare Alley, and I'm like, okay, I can't do this because it's like drawing it out. So yeah, I like the ability to be able to put the book down. Nicole said, would love to see a series with detailed backstories of the 13 ghosts. That would be really cool. Would you prefer that as like movies or like a TV show or as books? And then Robert said, case closed, 5 stars. There you go, Robert. And Medium John Silver, you too. You got some books in common, got some tastes in common. Nicole said correct. Okay. And I know that you're referring to the bathroom, the tub scene. So I'm glad I see. I'm serious. I haven't seen any part of that movie since I was probably like 5. And I remembered that's how much it scared me. Miss Starbucks said, "You're right. Indeed, there is a scene in the bathtub." Yeah, exactly. Alex Black Reed says, "Exhalation is great. A very interesting speculative sci-fi. One of my favorite recommended. Oh, sorry, one of my friends recommended it to me, but I loved the film Arrival, which was based on one of his short stories from a different collection. I have seen Arrival, and I did really like that movie. It was a very unique premise, and I appreciated." The way that they played around with time. And I actually first heard about that, believe it or not, when I was taking a philosophy class in college. And this was before I really got into sci fi. That same year was when I discovered Mass Effect and like my love like took off. But I ended up watching that my senior year in college. And I was like, wow. This is really cool. So good to know that that movie was based on his short stories. Thank you for that. Miss Starbucks said, "Somehow I don't really see ghosts as horror, but that might be because I'm very familiar with them in real life." Okay. So, have you been in a situation where you've been haunted? Did you grow up in like a haunted house? Do you see ghosts? I can tell you, Keaton and I, we really enjoy watching Ghost Adventures with Zach Baggins or Bagans. I can tell you though, part of it is because Zach is just ridiculous, but the other part is because like the places that they film are actually like really cool and they have a lot of history. And I like seeing, the stuff that they capture on camera. So I'm curious if really anybody else watches those. And Nicole said a TV miniseries to like highlight the backstories of the 13 ghosts. So very cool. Thank you all so much. That was like a really awesome conversation that just like popped off there. Thank you for that. So I will go ahead and ask because I got to go get some more cider. I think I do have some water, but I want some more hot cider. What like length of time? What do you all like for this next sprint? You can throw it out there. 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Imagine an hour is probably too much for a lot of people for a sprint because they're meant to be short, but just throw it out there. What would you like? And if nobody gives an answer, that's totally okay. I'll just like queue up 30 minutes. Another 30. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. I will go ahead and get that up. And Bubby's gonna boof in my ear. Hello, Bubby. You wanna come up here? You wanna say hi to everybody? You wanna say hi? You wanna come here? Say hi. Come here. Oh, here he is. This is Bub, the little goob that he is. He's 4 years old and he's a total stinker. He always wants to sit in my lap, but of course, when I want to show him to people, he, just runs off. Um, yeah, Ron, doggy. I love Bubby. He's my pride and joy. Miss Starbucks said, "I see ghosts indeed. I feel them. I communicate with them, and I have my own business in helping people with ghosts, cleaning their houses, etc., from a distance." Very interesting. I have friends that are engaged with that community and they do all sorts of like rituals and things in their home. I don't do that in my home in particular, but I respect the craft, if you will. And Alex said, "Oh, what a cute baby." So yeah, thank you guys, but I'll go ahead, get that queued up here, and we can get started. I'll see you all in a bit. All right, everybody. The blue little, I don't even know what to call him. Just like multi-legged guy. One. Come on back. Get the timer off here. There we go. Go ahead and let me know how you're doing on your progress. I did get up to talk to Keaton for a second, and I got some more cider. So I'm on page 770. So I'm like slowly but surely getting there. I did put up a new question, which was, what was your favorite Halloween costume as a child? I know, like, we all probably dressed as something different most years, and you might not be able to remember all your costumes. So if you can't remember a favorite, which one was the most memorable? What comes to mind first? And Medium John Silver says, I finished Nylon Angel. After the end of the story, there was a part of the first chapter of the next book in the Parish Pluses series. First time I've seen a sample chapter at the end of a book. Okay. And then you said, not tempted to buy the next book. So I'm curious then, what was your star rating? Like, was it something where you're like, okay, it's okay. It's an all right book. It's a solid book, but it's not something that's really that engaging, or was it something that you actively disliked? I'm curious. Robert said, Ghost TV shows. Jessica Chaba is the voice of Diana Allers in Mass Effect 3, so I thought you'd mention her show Expedition X. I have never heard of that. So no, I did mention, I should say I don't watch really any ghost shows other than Ghost Adventures, because I find Zach Bagans so ridiculous. um, I like his crew. I watched them a lot when I was a kid. I would like be over at my dad's, and I'd be watching. I think it was. I can't remember if it used to be on Discovery. I know it's on the Travel Channel now, but I used to just stay up late. And when I was a kid, I used to think that it was real, like all of it was real. And my feelings on it now are a bit different, of course, now that I'm a lot older. But I respect everybody's beliefs, and I believe that the people on the show believe the things that they've seen and what they've heard. And who am I to say that they haven't? But my favorite part of Ghost Adventures is definitely the history. I like learning about the history of the places, and also just some of the comedic things that come out of their mouths. And your favorite costume was Batman, and that's awesome. Mine was Buttercup from the Powerpuff Girls. She was my favorite Powerpuff Girl, and I had even like the big eyes that you put over your face, and I would like looked out of like the little pupils, so I had like these huge bug eyes on my face. It was pretty cute. I was really young then. And Alex Black Reed said, I made it to page 22. Awesome. And I'm guessing you started from the beginning. So 22 pages in half an hour. That's pretty good. And Nicole said, finished Tommy and only 64 pages left in 13 Reasons. The book is better than the show was, but I like having real people to picture in my head as I read. That makes perfect sense. One of the things I struggle with when I read a book and then watch a movie, or sometimes even reverse, is however I pictured them in my head on my own, I will never be able to see them the same way after I watch the movie. And I know that that's the way that it is. I think for most people, it's hard to just retain that image when somebody else gives you like the picture of what they look like. And that can add a lot of character. It can add a lot of personality, especially if you really enjoy who the actors are. I think a prime example of that was Harry Potter. I would never be able to picture Harry Potter like reading the books as anything other than the cast of the movies. But I'm really excited to hear that you finished Tommy. I'm curious what your rating of that was. And 64 pages and 13 Reasons. Are you going to try to finish that tonight? I bet you probably could if you wanted to, but I also understand that it's getting a little late. Medium John Silver says, I don't give star ratings. I'd say meh. Okay, that's very fair. I wondered about that because I was asking you earlier if you like what your star rating was, and you didn't give one. So makes perfect sense. Meh and my brain would probably, I guess, be like a 2 or a 3. Not, it wouldn't be anything good, obviously, if you're not looking forward to reading the next book. So if that's the case, if you don't want to read the next one in the series, what are your plans for your next read? What are you going to pick up next instead? Nicole said, Gothic Raggedy Ann black and white color scheme. Very cool. I like that. I'm also curious, did any of you, did your parents keep your like did they take photos of you and did you keep them? I actually have one on my computer of a year that I went as a doctor, and I'm with like my little cousin, and I'm pretty sure she was dressed up as a fairy, but it's really cute. It's one of the only Halloween costume pictures that I have. Um, Medium John Silver says, I had a cheap Yogi Bear costume as a kid, not great, but I got candy. Hey, and that's really the main thing is like you had fun trick or treating. I know Keaton and I, last year was our very first year that we got to hand out candy to trick or treaters. Like neither of us had ever done that before, and it brought me so much joy to see all of the costumes and whatnot that the kids had. And some of them, they had these like really elaborate costumes. Some of them it was their whole families got together and they made like a theme with each other, you know. So there was this one family that went as different Mario characters. There were five of them, so the two parents and then three kids, and theirs were fantastic. I couldn't tell whether they were homemade or store bought, but they looked like they might have been homemade costumes. And then there's some other ones where you can tell that the kids needed to kind of like throw something together, but they're always so happy, it, like whether the costume is good or not. Main thing is that they're having fun. Nicole said, absolutely. I'm off work tomorrow, so I'll likely chew through Blood on the Tracks Volume 14 as well. Very nice. I'm glad that you have the day off work. It's nice to have in the middle of the week, especially on a Tuesday. So, Medium John Silver says, my next reading will be The Poison Belt by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Okay, so you did say earlier about Doyle. It's a Professor Challenger novella rather than Sherlock Holmes, last not Victorian, written in 1913. Well, I do hope that that one you have a much greater success with than you did this last book. So my fingers are crossed for you. And Nicole said, Tommy, 4 out of 5 stars. It's one of his longer works and became a bit repetitive, so I can't give it the 5 I usually give Ito's works. Very fair. I think the more that we read of a particular creator's works, whether they're a manga artist, they're the writer of a novel, I think it can be the same way even with people who make movies. It's like the more we consume of their media, sometimes the more critical of it we become. And that's not to say always, like sometimes we'll have those authors where it's like everything that they write is like 5 stars and amazing, but I know for me it's kind of hard. Like it would be hard for anybody to always just be putting out the hits, like everything have to be perfect. So I still say a 4 is a very solid rating. And they say yeah, no, bit not, but I knew what you meant. You're good. And Robert said, my daughter had a pink Power Ranger costume and she wore it out before Halloween. So I had to buy another one. That is so sweet. So she just loved like walking around the house in it and just like posing as a Power Ranger. I think that's adorable. I appreciate that a lot of parents, I have friends that like they let their kids dress up in costumes all throughout the year because it just like makes them feel good. I never did that as a kid, but I think it's really cool if she like wore it out just because she loved it so much and it just like made her feel strong and like a superhero. That's amazing. And Ron said, I did a homemade R2D2 made from cardboard boxes, and it had terrible visibility. It was a tripping hazard, but I had fun with it. That's so cool. I really admire people who like take the time to make costumes because it can be a lot. There was one year at a prior job, so we had competitions for costumes, but what they did was it was by office. So the company we worked for was spread out throughout 3 states, and so each office would like come together, and some people would have a theme, some people would dress individually. Our office was always determined to win, like every single competition. We were like, we're in it to win it, baby. So there was one year we dressed up as the Adams family. I was Wednesday Adams, and I was like the perfect Christina Ricci. Wednesday, I had like the whole facial expression. I wore a wig and everything. But the next year was the Wizard of Oz, and I was Dorothy. But one of my coworkers, he was the Tin Man, and he built his entire costume out of cardboard and like painted it, and he like had like the big feet and everything. I thought it was awesome, and I respect so much when people like take the time to craft it. So a homemade R2D2 sounds amazing, even if it was a tripping hazard. That's still really cool. So thank you all so much. If you end up wanting to throw anything else in the chat, you feel free. I'm kind of wondering, how's everybody feeling? Are you wanting to go much longer? Is everybody kind of flagging? Are you ready to hang in there a little while longer? Because we could make it to where the next sprint is the last one for the evening, and that would be okay. We'd be setting it right about 3 hours, if everybody's feeling that, or we can go a little bit longer. So you just let me know. I can even try to come up with another question if you want. That was the last one that I had queued up. I know I still have quite a bit that I'm going to read tonight. So even if we end up ending the sprints early, which is totally okay, I'm probably still going to continue reading because I want to see if I can get through this book tonight. It just feels like it's one of those where it's like so close, but so far away. All right. Medium John Silver said, sign out now. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate you hanging out for so long, and I hope you have a lovely evening. Alex says, I'm probably just reading for the rest of the night. LOL. Yep, that's very fair. Um, 30 minutes will get us to 8 p.m. I think yeah, I think you're right. I think that's a good stopping point, at least for the sprints. Even if you all continue reading after that, I think that would be a good place. So I'm going to go ahead and set the timer for 30 minutes. And this time, put in the comments if you want which like little alien you think is going to win, because I think that that's really cute. Go ahead and get it pulled up here. Nicole said another 30 is good with me. Perfect. And yeah, tell me which one do you think is going to win. Place your bets, everybody. Place your bets. And I'll see you in a little bit. All right, everybody. Those of you who were rooting for the green unicycle, so that would have been Alex and Ron. You both got your pick. Congratulations. I was rooting for the three-eyed, kind of like reddish tentacle monster, but you guys won. And I know Ron had to go do the dishes and enjoyed the sprints. Robert says race was rigged. Well, you got to get in on the action next time. Like slip somebody like a 50 or something to make sure your alien wins. Don't worry, there'll be other sprints. I'm hoping you guys enjoyed like the little racing aliens. I think that it's pretty fun. But if you guys want me to try something else next time, I certainly can do that as well. But I know that's what I got for you all. I really hope that you enjoyed this time. Do one thing for me this week, and that is take care of yourselves. Be sure to eat well, drink water, get some rest. Know that whatever is coming this week, I know it's Monday, we made it through the first day, but whatever's coming this week, everything's going to be all right. And I'm hoping, like I said, that I'm going to be able to do one of these again on Friday. Can't guarantee it right now because I'm covering for one of my coworkers who is on a 3-hour time difference on Friday. And so I might still be working at the time I normally would want to start one of these so that it doesn't run too late. But hopefully I'll be able to do another one. So Alex said it got to page 44, an interesting but slow going book. So I'm glad it's at least interesting. I hope it continues on that way. Maybe it'll pick up. And Robert said that was fun. Nicole said that was my first time participating in one of these. I've had a blast. Thank you so much. Well, thank you all so much for coming. This has been wonderful for me. I'm really glad that this went so well. And I will wish you all a wonderful evening. So I'll see you all next time. Bye.